Tell him, McCluskey. Tell him what time it is.
Little Hand says it's time to rock and roll.
All you people are so scared of me.
Come quietly or there will be trouble.
Man, that's just me.
I'm Batman.
This is Sparta!
There is a tiger in the bathroom!
I'm an excellent driver.
If it bleeds, we can kill it.
Pop quiz, hotshot.
Keep the change, you filthy animal.
There is something about you. Something you carry. Something made of gold. But far more precious.
Hello and welcome to this week's Monday Movie Show, the last proper regular Monday Movie Show of 2014. Wow, that's kind of scary, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'm Andrew.
And
You're purring, are you?
No, it was. Remember last week I made a wrong joke that was very much like The Hobbit, but instead it should have been Paddington, but I wasn't very well, so I couldn't do the impression. So this week I decided to do the Paddington one, and I was hoping that you would pick it up and go, that was very
really
offensive.
Rude. Yeah, sorry. I was just catching up. Yeah. Sorry, it just...
it didn't work.
Not on my game, no. So, this being the last proper show of the year, and being that there is kind of one film out this week being...
It's a small, little, tiny film. I was actually hoping to see a movie called Electricity, because I heard a lot about it, but there's very few places that's shown it, so we just stuck with the little movie that is known as The Hobbit, The Battle of the Five Armies.
Yeah, so the cinema section isn't going to be all that long this week, though in the DVD section we've got quite a lot of releases because we're covering, as obviously we're not here during Christmas week, so we are covering what comes out this week and then what comes out on the 26th of December as well. So in those 2 weeks there are
Into the Storm is out this week along with Sin City 2, A Dame to Kill For, and released next week on December the 26th, so not the normal Monday that you would normally expect new releases to be, is Let's Be Cops, Sex Tape, As Above So Below, $1 Million Arm, and God's Pocket.
And as usual, we do have a couple of pieces of news to go through and a look at the UK box office top 10 and also the DVD and Blu-ray top 10. So let's get going with some Blu-ray. Sorry, why am I looking at Blu-ray? No, not Blu-ray. Some movie news. Starting off with a Marvel announcement that, as we know, Benedict Cumberbatch has now been confirmed officially as being Dr. Stephen Strange in Doctor Strange. Now, website Latino Review is announcing that there are going to be there are 3 actors currently up for the role of the character known as the Ancient One, a superpowered being who teaches Strange his magician skills. Currently in the running are Bill Nighy, Ken Watanabe, and Morgan Freeman. And sorry, I've got to do it as Morgan Freeman.
Why did you do it? That was even worse than my Paddington impression.
Oh, I'll work on it. I'll do it again later on. Just randomly through the night, you'll hear Morgan Freeman. That was actually quite bad, that one, I think, yeah.
Yeah, please stop.
What do you think about the 3 of them then? I mean, what's your opinions? I don't know the character. I don't know the Doctor Strange comics. So I'm quite leaning towards it being Bill Nighy out of the 3 of them, because I think him and Benedict Cumberbatch will be fantastic face to face.
Yeah, I think Bill Nighy is probably the right choice. Also, he's probably the actor who will be able to ham it up as well. So it'll be interesting to see him in this kind of film, because I don't think he's done this kind of movie before. So it'll be just nice to see what he does.
Well, he did the Underworld films, so...
Yeah, considering the scale between the Underworld films and something like a Marvel movie, it's beyond different. So, yeah,
my other half commenting on the Morgan Freeman impersonation. So the Morgan Freeman. No, that was bad. I need to
stop.
think it over in my head. Yeah, I need to think it over in my head first before I do it, not just try and do it randomly.
Yeah, so it's interesting casting news, but I think I agree with you.
My other piece of news that I've got is that a list of potential directors has also been announced now for the next Star Trek movie. And the website is Deadline has confirmed some of these names as being in the running. Not all of them are known for sure, but 5 names they have got up on there is Rupert Wyatt, who some of you may know from Rise of the Planet of the Apes, Morton Taldum, who did the Imitation Game, Daniel Espinosa, who directed Safe House, Justin Lin, who many will know from the Fast and Furious films, and Duncan Jones, who did the Fantastic Moon and equally fantastic Source Code.
But Duncan Jones has today come out and said that no, he's not in to direct the film. So
okay, so that's new. That's the latest piece that I didn't have. Thank you. Okay.
Yeah,
so, it would have four then.
I would have actually gone with Duncan Jones personally, because it would have been much more interesting coming from him, because he would have actually been able to contain a nice, small, tense story inside something really epic. So he has that eye, he has that vision, but he's just hard at work on the new Warcraft film, the new World of Warcraft film. So there would have been no chance of him being able to get this movie out in time. You need to actually go with a director who's able to do that. And I probably would go with Rupert Wyatt from that list.
I think he's the safe bet because of being able to do something that has a strong character element to it, and then also has a strong effects point to it as well with Rise of the Planet of the Apes. But then the thing is, he didn't do Dawn of the Planet of the Apes because of the fact of the time constraints and the pressures that he felt with that. So question is, how would he feel considering that there's been now Roberto Orsi's left Star Trek 3, so obviously it's in the same situation. He'd be coming in late and having to do a lot of stuff very quickly and under pressure. I don't know that he'd necessarily want to do that because of the same issues that he would have. So I actually think that it would have to be someone like Justin Lin, who's shown that he can do things quickly and come out with something decent at the end of it.
But again, Justin Lin is rumoured to be tied down to the final 2 Fast and Furious films.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
It's something else where it's probably best to go with a director who's not tied down to something. And so that was the reason why circling around this was Edgar Wright, because he dropped off from doing Ant-Man, and so we don't know what other project he's got. So Edgar Wright, and Jonathan Frakes says he was interested in coming back to do it. I don't agree maybe with Jonathan Frakes. Edgar Wright might be an interesting choice to go with, but it's probably best. Yeah. It's probably best to go with a director who's able to actually put his all into the film rather than be distracted with different projects.
That's true.
My news is, now, I said to Andrew before we started the show the pieces of news that I had apart from one, but I'm going to keep that piece till last, just to be more interested, because it is a pretty bit of an interesting piece of news.
Just because you love teasing.
Yeah, why not? According to the Hollywood Reporter, the release of the new King Kong film has been pushed back. The film, now titled Kong, Skull Island, will be out on March 10th, 2017. The reason for this is down to Universal and Legendary Pictures not wanting the film to clash with Marvel's Doctor Strange.
I'm really not excited about this at all. It's another remake of a remake of... it's another one of these films, well, not necessarily a remake, but it's a spin-off of a remake which just... it's not necessary. Come up with something original instead.
It's supposedly going to introduce Kong. And he's not supposed to be in the film that much, according to rumours. But 2017 is a long, huge gap to wait for the film itself. So we'll see what they're doing with that. And Legendary have got a decent track record when it comes to these big epic scale films.
They have. That's true. I was rewatching Pacific Rim the other night.
I love that movie
and enjoyed it immensely. And it is amongst the great, although very cheesy, films that Legendary did as sort of the end of their time with Warner Brothers.
Yeah, they're with a better studio also, I think, with Universal. Universal will give them a little bit more leeway than Warner Brothers. So,
the thing that's interesting is how recently it's been announced that Universal didn't have any big sort of blockbuster films this year. They only had some sort of marginally sizable films. I think they were planning originally, obviously, having Fast and Furious before Paul Walker died, and then they had to push that back till next year to obviously finish it and get it done. So they never had that to release this year. So they've never had any major, big, sort of expensive blockbuster films, and yet they've come out on top financially and done good box office numbers with just average, small, sort of lower cost, lower budget films. So I mean, they don't have to do these big budget things. It's nice when they do. But they don't have to, because of the fact that there's less risk and there's less chance of them losing money.
But then now they've got the option with the deal that they've made with Legendary Pictures, and out of all the studios that can tackle these big, huge, massive films, Legendary is probably one of the better ones to go with, because they don't mind taking chances. If you look at something like Pacific Rim, I don't think anybody like a Universal or a Warner Brothers on their own would have attempted to do a movie like that. So it's just at least they're there to try and take a few little risks. So we'll see what happens with the new King Kong film. More news: Sony and Nintendo are in talks to work together on a new Super Mario Brothers film. A leaked email appeared online which stated that Sony's Avi Arad and Nintendo's head honchos Shigeru Miyamoto and Satoru Iwata had talks back in October where they agreed a deal to make a new animated Mario film.
I'm just going to first of all applaud you on managing to say those names. I don't know if they're accurate or not, but well done.
Well, Shigeru Miyamoto and Satoru Iwata have always just been indented into my brain. It's just like when I'm able to reel off people at Studio Ghibli, they're just indented into my brain. So,
yeah.
But I thank you.
Yeah, it's not a big thing for me, to be honest. It is more your kind of a thing, so...
Yeah, Mario back on the big screen, maybe. By the sounds of it, they want to go animated, so I don't know if they want to go big screen or small screen. I hope they don't go TV route again, because the Mario TV series was terrible. It was really...
The film weren't much better.
The film was actually better than the animated TV series, to be honest, because Mario did not speak like an Italian plumber. It was such the stereotypical guy, the Mamma Mia kind of thing, the Luigi meatball from The Simpsons.
It was like Bob Hoskins doing the kind of the Sean Connery thing of doing an accent without doing an accent.
Yeah, and true. The less said about the Goombas in the Mario film, the better, because when did the Goombas turn from being mushrooms with a really bad-looking face to this small-headed thing which has just got a huge, massive smile? And Dennis Hopper as Bowser.
Oh dear, that's a shame. It's like, of all the things to remember Dennis Hopper for,
Bowser.
I choose to remember him for Speed better. That's it, for the villain in Speed. He was great in that, but and that's not the best of it. It's like the one that I choose to remember because it's a fun role.
Yeah, Dennis Hopper is Bowser. Final piece of news is, according to a leaked email from Sony, which is a lot happened from
all
Sony.
Of this news,
yeah, pretty much. Channing Tatum and Chris Pratt could be starring in a spin-off from the upcoming Ghostbusters 3. If the leak is true, then Captain America the Winter Soldier directors Joe and Anthony Russo are interested in directing the project.
Okay, one, there's just absolutely no reason for that. It's desperation. It reeks of desperation of not having any titles or anything to come up with. And two, the Russos are going to be busy as heck now because they are now doing Captain America 3, and then also they are going to be doing, after the next one coming out in the next year, they will be doing the two parts of the third Avengers film, Infinity War. So, and that's 2017, obviously, but they've got time to do work on that. They're going to be too busy. They are going to be too busy to work on other things. Joss Whedon has been insanely busy, because the thing is, what people are maybe not realising is the fact of the reason Joss Whedon has been so busy is because of the fact of everything that is done in the Marvel Cinematic Universe has to be tied in. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., the TV series has to be tied in, and all the other films have to be tied in. And so whatever they're doing, and they're lining them up, because they all happen in the same universe, they all have effects on each other, they're all connected, they have to be involved in all the films leading up to the third Avengers film, which they are then writing and directing as well. So they're going to be too busy.
Okay, then what if they've just said that they are interested in it, but the leak of this is true? However, this is the film that Phil Lord and Christopher Miller are going to do. Because remember, they were originally attached to doing the reboot of the Ghostbusters series before it was handed over to Paul Feig. And it'll just be a spin-off film with Channing Tatum in it and Chris Pratt, directed by Phil Lord and Christopher Miller, who's worked with Channing Tatum in the past on 22 Jump Street. And obviously, I've actually worked with Chris Pratt on the Lego Movie.
Yes.
So,
I still just don't think it's feasibly possible in the time that they'll have, which they won't have much.
Well, at least it's not as bad as the rumoured 22 Jump Street Men in Black crossover movie.
Oh no, that's just.
I wasn't going to put that down as news because that is just a stupid idea crossing over. Jonah Hill. Jonah Hill has turned around and says he would love it to happen, and he would definitely star in it if it is going to be true. That's just ridiculous.
No. Please no.
That's it for news.
Yeah.
Put the nail in that coffin.
Let's go into the box office top 10. Starting at number 10 with Black Sea.
Which you've seen. I haven't
seen that. I didn't know if you had or not. I wondered if you had. So I think you did mention about you were kind of curious, weren't you?
I was, yeah.
Yeah. I gotta say, I really enjoyed it. I really liked it. I'm not a massive fan of submarine films, though I do enjoy them a bit. Jude Law is pretty watchable on it. It's a good cast. It's a good sort of claustrophobic feel to it, which is what you need with a submarine film and a thriller. And I really quite surprisingly enjoyed it.
Oh well, it does look really interesting. It's got like a very Das Boot. There's another film. I'm trying my best to think of when you were doing the review last week. There's a horror film that's set on board of a submarine. It's got nothing to do with ghosts or anything like that. But it's got its footprints in horror, and it's just all about tension on the submarine. And I still cannot think of the name of it.
Is it the one with David Duchovny and Ed Harris?
No, it's not that one. It's better than that one.
Not Phantom. No, that's the other one I can think of. No,
it might actually be Phantom. But Phantom was also the name of a film starring the new Batman, not Batman.
Yeah. The new Batman. Yeah. Ben Affleck.
Yeah, Ben Affleck.
Dean Kuntz one.
Yeah, that was actually pretty decent, that film.
Okay, I don't know. I kind of avoided it. Number 9 is St. Vincent.
Yeah, can I just mention before I go on to St. Vincent that there was a film that was completely absent out of two films that were completely absent out of the top 10: Men, Women, and Children, which didn't make a dent at all in the top 10.
Surprising, considering that I was the only person in the screening when I went and saw it.
Yeah, I can't even remember where it charted in the top 40 or something, but I know it didn't do very well at all. And also The Pyramid, which bombed at the box office, went in at number 14. Wow. So those, two films that we reviewed last week, which had pretty decent screenings. It wasn't shown on very few screens. It was actually shown on 100 plus. They got nowhere near the top 10. But regarding St. Vincent, it's a very low entry for a Bill Murray film. It's not bad, actually. It just loses its way when it decides to flip between being a comedy to being a drama. The director has turned around and said he doesn't do melodrama, he doesn't do schmaltz in his movies. Yet this movie, it doesn't do that. That doesn't prove it, because the fact that it is very schmaltzy and it's just the switch. The way it actually switches between them is just too rapid and too instant that it doesn't work for the film.
I want to see it. I've not had a chance to see it, and I do want to see it because I do like the look of it, and I think Bill Murray he's very good at doing this relaxed comedy that's not comedy sort of thing that he does.
I would quickly try to see it then, because I don't think cinemas are actually keeping it on very long, because they're looking ahead to the films that are out in the next couple of weeks. And on Boxing Day alone, you've got 4 big films out, and you've got Dumb and Dumber 2 out on Friday, and Annie's released as well soon, and so you've Night in the Museum 3. So cinemas are not going to keep it on there if it only charted at number 9.
Okay. So I'm looking at the charts. I'm lost where I am now.
8.
Oh yeah. 8. Sorry. Nativity 3. Dude, where's my donkey?
And I can see why you actually just blanked it out of your mind.
Yeah, I just completely sort of phased out on it. Yeah.
The first Nativity is on BBC Two over Christmas, and that's supposed to be okay. So I would probably just say watch that and don't spend your money to go and see Nativity 3. Dude, where's my donkey?
New entry at number 7 for Get Santa.
Which surprised me because Christopher Smith, the director of it, is more known for horror movies. But this is such a really good Christmas family film. I like you with Black Sea. I was the only person in the screening of it because I saw it very early in the morning at 10 o'clock. And on a Friday.
Black Sea I saw was fairly busy. It was men, women and children. I was the only person in it.
Well, men, women and children. But I saw this, I saw Get Santa on a Friday morning at 10 o'clock. So kids were at school. So I had the whole cinema screening to myself. And Jim Broadbent as Santa, a gangster Santa as well. How can you not laugh at that?
Yo.
Exactly. Everything about the film. Rafe Spall is fantastic in the movie as well. Everybody is really good. They just know that the movie is supposed to be a fun, family-friendly, entertaining Christmas film. And they just have a lot of fun. Normally when you watch a movie and you can see on screen that they're getting really entertained and they're having a lot of fun doing the roles that they are. There's something a bit iffy about that. You might expect the shooting of the film at its turmoil. You look at a movie that we'll get onto a little bit in the chart. But this one, I can tell that they were just enjoying what they were doing, both on screen and off screen. So I just see go see this with the double bill of another film that's coming up a little bit later on also.
At number 6, almost reaching £20 million at the UK box office, is Interstellar.
Which I liked it. It's not going to make my top 10 of the year. Actually, it's not made my top 10 of the year. It's not even made my honourable mentions of the year. I thought it's an ambitious film, but Christopher Nolan, he knows how to make ambitious films. He knows how to make very intelligent films as well. So he's an admirable director to try and attempt something like this, and to see a big movie, a big scale movie with proper scope in both story and the visual effects that is on screen is a really hard thing to come by. We might get one a year, and that's about it. And so it's an admirable attempt. It just has problems with the father-daughter relationship in the last 20 minutes.
Number 5 is Horrible Bosses 2.
Yeah, really bad. Really, really bad. And Charlie Day, who I actually really liked in Pacific Rim, I couldn't stand him in this film.
No, I have to agree. Number 4 is The Imitation Game.
Brilliantly acted by Benedict Cumberbatch, brilliantly directed by one of the directors who's rumoured to be taking over on Star Trek. So yeah, it's just a really well-made film. It's the typical acting role that you would expect from Benedict Cumberbatch. He is a strong actor, and when he did the movie a little bit, I think it was early on in this year, late last year, the one with Daniel Brühl in it, about Julia Assange, I thought that was a bit of a weak film for him, but it wasn't very strong at all.
The Fifth Estate. Yeah,
The Fifth Estate. This one assured that he's back to his brilliant best, acting-wise.
Number 3, so I keep losing my place in this, is new entry for Penguins of Madagascar. Have you seen this?
No.
No. I'm going to say you should, because it is fun. It's ridiculous, but it's one of these kids' films, but it's one that a family and adults can enjoy as well. There's lots of humour in it. It genuinely has jokes in it from start to finish. There is a great joke at the start of it with the Werner Herzog voiceover, and then it doesn't quite ever reach heights of that again, but it does a good job consistently throughout it, and then just being funny and fun from start to end. So I would say definitely check it out if you can, because it is a fun film, and the 3D in it is not bad as well, because obviously it's a 3D animated one.
Yeah, the only problem with me is my cinema are just being absolute numpties in the showing times of the film, because the last showing for Penguins of Madagascar at my cinema over the next, I would say 12 days, is 5:10. I don't finish work until 5:30, and I'm working on Sunday as well. So there's no way of me being able to see it.
No, it's. I mean, the thing is, it's a shame. I'd like to see what this did if it was on in the evening in cinemas, because I think my local one's doing the same thing. And I'd be interested to see if they had a chance, for adults only in the evening. How many would go? Because I think there'd be interest in it. Number 2 is The Hunger Games Mockingjay Part 1.
It's the final book in the series that did not need to be split into two. The only reason why they've done it is money. That's the only reason why that there isn't enough in this film to actually sustain it, because I think it suffers from a repetitive nature. It's an interesting premise, and it's a brave thing to do in these kind of, I hate using the word tween. It's such a derogatory term when it comes to movies like this. But it's such an interesting take to follow in that kind of that thing there, more about the political side of things and watching the political stuff play out. It's brave to do, but you need something else to sustain the movie, and the politics just doesn't do that.
Yeah, I kind of agree. I really do like it, but I have so many issues with it, and I think it's the weakest of all the films so far. I think it's all going to depend on the last part of that, whether or not this is good or not. This it might get a better standing if part 2 is really good, but that's not really how it should work. It should be standing on its own if it's released as a separate film, and it's, as far as I'm concerned, as much as it's doing big numbers at the box office, it's not standing on its own successfully. It's going to be wait and see for Mockingjay Part 2.
It'll be interesting to see how they bleed together properly. Like, if you watch, before Mockingjay Part 2 comes out, if you watch this before that, to see if they properly do match up, if it did actually pay off for them by making it 2 films, or if it did Hobbit, which we'll get a little bit onto that when we do the review of it, if it did that, at least they didn't actually split it into 3, to be honest, so...
Which means that the UK number 1 is Paddington.
Yeah, this is the film that you should go to see alongside Get Santa, because I think they would make an absolute brilliant double bill for kids. And even though the overall running time for both of them together would be very, very, very close to 3 hours, I still think they would be brilliantly entertained during those 3 hours. So see them back to back. Paddington is just entertaining. It's British. It's got British, just the stamp of approval all over it. Studio Canal was braver actually taking this project on, because it was originally Warner Brothers, wasn't it, who was supposed to be releasing this?
I'm not sure. I think it was it not going to be...
I know it was it was either Warner Brothers or Universal.
Fox.
It was
it was Fox.
Or Fox. It was one of the big studios that was supposed to take on the project, but they dropped out. And so Studio Canal decided to foot the bill. And it's their most expensive film that they've created. And well done to them for taking this brave step. It's out in the US on Friday, so we'll see how it does there. If it charts in the bottom end of the top 10, taking, I would say, around about $10 million, it's done brilliantly for itself in there. So I loved it. I thought Paddington is such an entertaining family film.
So that's it for the UK box office top 10. Let's go on to our single release of the week that we're covering this week with The Hobbit, The Battle of the Five Armies, which is, if you're not aware of what it is, then where have you been for the last few years, under a rock or something? Because you should really know what The Hobbit is all about. It is based on J.R. Tolkien's Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit book. This one being the third of 3, which was split into, and carrying on from the last one, Desolation of Smaug, all directed by Peter Jackson. This one takes place continuing literally from the very end of Desolation of Smaug, where you have Frodo and the dwarves are all sort of there at the mountain after Smaug the dragon has departed and attacking Lake Town, where you have Bard, played by Luke Evans, in a much more bigger role this time, him sort of helping to fend off and save the people of Lake Town against this dragon. Meanwhile, word has spread about the dragon now leaving the mountain and all its riches and everything contained within essentially being up for grabs, means that all of these different kinds of armies, the orcs, the elves, the humans, everyone is kind of heading for the Lonely Mountain, and basically in this sort of thing all the armies come together, and what's going to happen, of course, they're going to clash. At one point the dwarves find themselves in a situation unaware that they're going to get blindsided by another army approaching from another direction, and so it's a case of Gandalf the wizard, returning again, played by Ian McKellen, is suggesting for the elves to send off someone and warn them. Here's a clip.
My lord,
Dispatch this force to Ravenhill. The dwarves are about to be overrun. Thorin must be warned.
By all means, warn him. I've spent enough elvish blood in defense of this accursed land. No more.
Sandhill!
I'll go.
Don't be ridiculous. You'll never make it.
Why not?
Because they will see you coming and kill you.
No, they won't. They won't see me.
It's out of the question. I won't allow it.
I'm not asking you to allow it, Gandalf.
So that's kind of all the story that there is to it. Because of the fact that this is kind of the culmination of the last two films, there isn't much of a story to it. It is just all about this big, massive battle between these armies. And the thing is with it, it's okay. I'm gonna basically start off quick saying that I liked it, but I didn't really love it, and I didn't like it as much as the Lord of the Rings films. I actually find that of all 6 films, I think this is my least favourite one. So I did actually go on Facebook after seeing it in the midnight showing. I saw it, and it got a good reaction from the audience. It was a good, lively audience. People enjoyed it, and people like it. And I said I enjoyed it. I like it, but it's trying too much to be like Lord of the Rings: Return of the King, which was a much better film, much more complete, much more put together in a sort of more organised way, because this does feel at times very kind of random and sort of a little jumbled in parts. I thought that it could have been edited better. I don't think it's necessarily been put together the best way it could be. I think it's probably been rushed a bit towards the end for time that Peter Jackson's had, because he is known for working on these right up to the last minute and then some. And apparently as well, because this is also surprisingly short for the third film of a trilogy, because as the other films have shown, they normally got longer and longer. This one's only 2 hours and 20 minutes. I say only 2 hours 20 minutes, but it is the shorter of sort of the length you'd expect it. Supposedly the extended version, when it will be released eventually on Blu-ray and DVD, will be a good half hour longer, and I actually look forward to seeing that, because I want to see if that makes a difference. There's lots of little bits that will probably be put in here and there which will help the pacing, but I have to say I enjoyed it. I liked it. It's a visual treat. It's good to see, but the one thing I do have an issue with it is it kind of more in this one than any of the other films, although it was more noticeable. I started noticing it more and more with The Hobbit, the other two films, and I definitely felt it with this one. It has a kind of a George Lucas new Star Wars feel to it, which is not a good thing, because it has this whole thing of scenes where it's obvious sort of green screen. There's this, it literally, here's the setup of a Peter Jackson Hobbit film. You've got a still shot of someone, then a long sweeping, camera movement over them as they're running or as they're moving or as they're walking or something, and then a still shot again. And it's kind of like the whole George Lucas, standing in front of a green screen talking, giving dialogue, and then you have a quick panning a quick panning big special effects shot, and then you're back to people walking and talking, and it suffers from that. I had the feeling like that as I was watching it, and that's not a good thing, to be reminded of the more recent 3 Star Wars films when you're watching something like this that should be reminding you of the Lord of the Rings instead. I liked it. I didn't love it.
See, the problem I've had with the Hobbit films of the Lord of the Rings movies is I think the Lord of the Rings stands up much better than the Hobbit films, because of the fact that Peter Jackson in the trilogy of this one has decided to overly rely heavily on CGI. And CGI makes the film look fake. It makes the film not have a beating heart. If you look at the expansive panning shots that he does in the Lord of the Rings trilogy, they've got depth to them. They've got vastness to them. If you have just got a shot where you've got one of the characters just standing there, there is still enough going on in the background and foreground to make the shot interesting. It's never empty. Whereas if you look at shots that are done in the Hobbit films, because the fact that he over-relies too heavily on CGI flair, there is emptiness to the soul of the movie. A prime example of it is when there is the fight with Smaug himself. resulting in... It's not giving a spoiler away because Andrew alluded to it, the death of Smaug. It's just when the arrow pierces his heart. That's exactly how I felt watching the entire trilogy, this trilogy here. It just pierced my heart as a Lord of the Rings fan, and I was expecting much more from what Peter Jackson was able to do. The big massive nail in the coffin for me was the introduction of Billy Connolly's character in this. He had nothing in him. It was just like a CGI character, like they just got his voice and just CGI'd absolutely everything, and that proved it down to a T. It lost its heart. It lost its human element of it, even though the bad guys in the Lord of the Rings trilogy were orcs and things like that, Uruk-hai. They still had a human actor portraying that one. That's why you had Andy Serkis playing Smeagol and Gollum, because they wanted to add somebody there on set to make it feel more real. This it didn't have that, and so when you had in a battle of Thorin, it just felt it was done before, but done much better before. We saw there's a brilliant scene, which is painful to actually see it, but there's a brilliant scene in the film where it's just walking along a vast corridor of gold. Okay. It's just there's just gold beneath his feet, and then you see the outer shadow of Smaug underneath him, sort of like he's in a demon. That was brilliantly shot. It was a really nice, well executed scene. There is another scene which involves Galadriel, where she releases just her inner bitchness, to be honest, where she releases her inner sort of like power against the Eye of Sauron, the creation of Sauron. And again, it sort of like reminded me of the best of Lord of the Rings. But the rest thing around it was just like a beating heart that was made of concrete. Just had no way of being able to expand and drag me into it. At the end of the film, everybody in the screening that I went to see clapped. And I was thinking, this is the first time that's ever happened to me in a film where people have applauded it. Why did it have to happen in The Hobbit, The Battle of the Five Armies? Why couldn't it have happened in any of the Lord of the Rings films, in any of the Harry Potter films, in any film that deserved it, in Gravity? Why did it have to happen in a movie which I felt like the trilogy itself was a bit of a letdown? Yeah, so I mean, we're similar sort of feelings of that. We both liked it, but just it was disappointing because it's not living up to the potential that one, A, it could have, and B, that we've seen before from Peter Jackson with Lord of the Rings. Yeah. It's just painful to watch that. It's sort of like you could say it might have been too soon. But because the fact that he needs to lead up to the Lord of the Rings trilogy anyway, him too soon of actually creating a Hobbit film, I would have preferred it if they went with their original scope and made two films directed by Guillermo del Toro. It would have been interesting to see somebody else tackle the start of the series before we get into the Lord of the Rings, rather than the director of the Lord of the Rings, because there's so much hype behind the Lord of the Rings films and so much anticipation. He needed to be on a completely above and beyond his ear game, and he wasn't. I want Jackson to go back now and create some smaller films, rather than go back to doing things like Winter's Bone and Brain Dead, rather than going on to doing another like a King Kong film. Don't do that.
Winter's Bone?
Didn't he?
You don't mean the Jennifer Lawrence Winter's Bone?
There was a small little film that he did. I'm trying to think of the name of it now. It might not be Winter's Bone, but he did a small film. Okay.
Well, that's it for this week's cinema section. As we said, there was only one film we were covering, and that was The Hobbit, Battle of the Five Armies. Stick around, we're back in just a moment with this week's DVD and Blu-ray in the home release sections.
From page to screen. So they have 9 times out of 10 they have to send it back to you unopened or just throw it in the garbage can.
Things don't always look exactly as we envision our life to look, but sometimes it works out and turns out even better.
Gregor Fisher, his bacon number is 2 because he was appeared with January Jones in Love Actually, and January Jones and Kevin Bacon appeared in X-Men First Class together.
I've got to say, the very Harold and Kumar 3D Christmas now, that just makes me want to rush out.
It's about the acting and about the writing. That's really what theatre is for me.
Probably had more names than Prince or whatever. Never mind, there's a joke for the oldies. They'd be like, who's Prince? Who's he? I'd just like to see Mr. Freeze hiring his bad guys going, right, okay, so you're a psycho, right, can you ice skate? Head over to iTunes, Spreaker and Stitcher and put in the search box from page to screen.
Welcome back to this week's Monday Movie Show. The movie that I was trying to think there in the cinema section is The Lovely Bone. So it's got.
I knew it wasn't Winter's Bone. You think, I mean, that's the Jennifer Lawrence film. Like,
yeah, it's got bones in the title.
That? Yeah,
it's got bones in the title. So at least I got something right, and the part. So I got two bits right. I just got Winter and Lovely mixed up. But we're into DVD territory.
Mistake.
Yeah, the final Blu-ray and DVD section of 2014 for the Monday Movie Show. As a matter of fact, it's a very strange one because we're splitting it not like properly into two, but we're looking at films that are out this week and we're looking at films that are out in a couple of weeks' time on the 26th. So up for review this week is...
we have the big budget special effects disaster movie Into the Storm, and then we have big budget special effects movie Sin City 2: A Dame to Kill For.
Yeah, and the films that are out on the 26th include...
We have comedy with Let's Be Cops and comedy with Sex Tape. We have some horror with As Above, So Below. And we have some drama with $1 Million Arm and God's Pocket.
Also released on the 29th of December, even though we're not reviewing it tonight, but I've only just remembered that it's out on the 29th of December, is The Guest. Which is annoying, because we probably would have reviewed that as well, because we've seen The Guest. But that's out on the 29th of December this month. So
we can do a quick review at the end if we've got time.
Yeah, those are the films that are out over the next few weeks, because of there is nothing out on the 22nd. It's all out on the 26th and the 29th. On top of that, we have our TV movie of the week, which is just sticking to movies out in the coming week rather than over the Christmas period. But we'll kick things off with the Blu-ray and DVD top 10, where very little has changed. So at number 10 is Maleficent.
Yeah, really disappointing as far as I'm concerned. I think it's a weak link in the chain of that is Angelina Jolie's acting resume. I think she struggles to act against screen and can't do it, and that's where they found sort of the weakness in her performance. And I didn't think it was brilliant. I thought it was actually quite unnecessary. It's another one of these Disney rewriting history sort of things, and the story of Sleeping Beauty that you didn't know sort of thing. So not really. I don't think it's especially worth buying. I'd say maybe rent it or stream it if you really want to see it, but I don't think it's worth buying, unfortunately.
Yeah, because she's now switched to directing, hasn't she? She's directed a new film that's out on the 26th called Unbroken.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we'll see, because I'm kind of looking forward to that, but I don't know. We'll see what that's like, I guess, when that's out.
Early indications are saying that it's got brilliant acting, but it's got a very sedate storyline. So we'll see when that comes out on the 26th. At number 9 is 22 Jump Street.
Which is fantastic comedy, brilliant because of the fact that not only is a sequel, but that it's as good as the first one. Channing Tatum is fantastic at comedy. He needs to get put in more comedy films, and Jonah Hill is perfectly fine in it. The two of them, though, have great chemistry, and I genuinely laughed a lot in this and burst out loud at certain points. And Stuart, I know for a fact as well, you got your minimum number of laughs of 4 laughs easily in the first half hour.
Yeah, and just that meme that's going around, my name's Jeff, which is just dropping into absolutely everything, like the Hermione one saying, who are you? And then you just got Channing Tatum going, my name's Jeff. It's genius. It cracks me up every single time I see it. I love 22 Jump Street. And number 8 is Hercules,
which I really, really did like. A lot more than I was expecting to. First of all, because it's Brett Ratner, who is, one of the most just disappointingly bad directors out there, and yet this isn't disappointing. This isn't bad. The Rock, or Dwayne Johnson as he's going by now, is absolutely on great form in this, as is everyone else in the cast with him, and it's a rip-roaring fun, less than 2 hours running time film that is. It kind of brings a new thing to the table of the whole Hercules thing by showing, this is the legend that really was kind of thing, and I like that. I really did like it.
Yeah, it never takes itself too seriously, whereas other Hercules movies in the past have. It's
funny too.
Yeah, it realises that it should be a cheesy action film. So, like, the kind of thing that we would expect from Roland Emmerich.
Yeah.
And it definitely realises... Yeah, it realises that. And so I'm glad that it's finally actually realised what it should be, rather than going, oh, we need to take ourselves so seriously and give him so many backstories and turmoil and drama and brooding moments. No, we don't. We just want to see him kick ass and chop people in half.
Well, not quite that, but...
No. Well, I do. At number 7 is Dawn of the Planet of the Apes.
Which is a great film. It's not only because of the fact that it's a good sequel, a better sequel than Rise of the Planet of the Apes, but also that it has great performances from Andy Serkis and Toby Kebbell in it as the apes, and the effects work so brilliantly that you don't take it in that they're actors. It looks like apes, and it's believable. There's great work here with them using sign language instead of talking a lot of the time, and I think it's a really, really good sequel, and I'm looking forward to what they do next with this franchise.
At number 6 is Lee Evans' Monsters Live.
Let's stand up. We're not the biggest fans of Lee Evans, and so there's not much we can say on that, really.
Number 5 is Mrs. Brown's Boys, the movie.
Just not worth it. Why is it in the top 10? It doesn't need to be. It's doing the thing of taking a comedy show and making it big screen, and it doesn't work because it doesn't work on a big screen. Do it on a small screen. Do a Mrs. Brown's Boys, the movie, straight to DVD, made for television, and it would be funnier. I don't know that I'd like it because I still don't like Mrs. Brown's Boys, but I guarantee it would have been a funnier film.
There's a live show out on DVD now. There's a Christmas special coming out and no TV series.
Yeah. This is why we're off for 2 weeks, so we don't have to go through the DVD Blu-ray chart over Christmas when it's going to be all TV and stand-up things.
Yeah. And number 4 is Guardians of the Galaxy.
Fantastic. Marvel doing what they do and then some, and thinking outside the box and then basically redefining the box entirely. Absolutely brilliant. And if you haven't seen it, see it. Even if you're not into sort of sci-fi things, you will find something in it that you will like, if not love, because it's fantastic.
Even I actually bought the film. I don't buy superhero movies as a general rule of thumb, but even I bought the 3D film. I haven't watched it yet because I'm keeping it to one side as a Christmas present for myself. Sad, I know, but somebody has to buy me Christmas presents. But yeah, even I went out and bought it, so shame on you if you don't. At number 3 is the only new entry in this week's top 10, Expendables 3.
Which is really disappointing because of the fact, even though the Blu-ray does contain an uncut version, it's not really uncut. It's just got little bits of it here and there. It's got extra stuff in there. It's got fake CGI blood in certain bits, and it's just not necessary, as is the film, really. It could have been so much more, and really should have been, because the first 2 films are throwbacks to the 80s. You know what you're going to get with them. The third film, it then goes, oh wait, we're not going to do throwback anymore. We're going to bring in the new cast. And what? That's not what Expendables is about. Expendables is about the old guys who are expendable. Don't just get the new ones, because the new ones are... Oh, I'm not even bothered. Just go on.
But number 2 is In-Betweeners 2.
I haven't seen this yet. I am going to see it this week, I'm sure, because I want to see it before we do our end of the year awards show in the middle of this week. And I want to, because I suspect it's going to be in one of my lists.
Yeah, I don't think you've got enough time to actually see it in time for our coalition of the top 10 worst films of the year or whatever. But it is pretty bad, to be honest. But what did you expect? You weren't going to expect anything decent. And at number 1...
Brown's Boys too.
And at number 1, Frozen.
I'm just going to do one thing. I'm just going to...
Yeah, the Frozen advert has just popped up on my TV right beside me because it's going to be shown on Sky Movies at Christmas.
Yeah, I know that it's a great film. Well, I know that it's a great film, and I liked it. I just don't get... I mean, how many people are going to end up getting 3 or 4 copies for Christmas because of the fact that everyone, their auntie, their gran, their mum, their sister, their father, their brothers, their cousins, everyone bought them it. And then it's going to be on, the second-hand list so quick because everyone will have it. It's... I honestly don't understand how it's still selling so much and hasn't run its course in sales.
Yeah, the last film which made me... The last film that made me scratch my head like this about how stupidly it's done at the box office, etc., was Titanic. Because I couldn't believe... Titanic and Avatar... I couldn't believe that both of those films took more than $1 billion at the worldwide box office and become the top 2 highest grossing films of all time. I just could not see that. I just couldn't. And Frozen has become another one of those movies. It is Disney at their best, but it's still, how the hell is this film still selling bucket loads? It's still shown in cinemas in more than 400 screens in the sing-along version. They released the sing-along version on Blu-ray and DVD. What's the point when you have subtitles on a Blu-ray and DVD? What, do you get a little extra thing of a little bouncing ball going across the top of the subtitles? I can see why they did that in the cinema, but on Blu-ray and DVD, pointless. And it's going to be shown on Sky. It's probably going to be the top of the film list TV-wise this Christmas. It'll be top of the DVD list, and I wouldn't be surprised if it's number 1 at the UK box office. It's just head-scratching.
I think let's move on, shall we?
Yeah, let's move on to the first new release of this week in Into the Storm. It's directed by Stephen Quayle. It's sort of like your very typical old-fashioned disaster film. It's set in a small town of Silverton, where a father who's played by Richard Armitage, he's the vice principal at this school, and it's graduation day, so obviously he's going through a lot of turmoil trying to set up the graduation ceremony. He's got 2 sons who are also involved in it. One of his sons, he's going to be shooting it, and he has sort of like the attraction of a girl who's at the school there, and he decides to offer his help to this girl to be able to shoot some footage for her, because her coursework or something like that is very unfinished, and so he needs to actually set that up, and so he decides to sneak off away from the graduation to this abandoned factory area. Meanwhile, you've got this group of storm chasers who's headed up by Sarah Wayne Callister's character, and they are actually journeying across the country to try and track down the sort of like tornadoes and things like that, really harsh weather, to put in a documentary that they're creating, but they always seem to miss it. And they are actually on the right track when it comes to looking for a huge, massive storm, because lo and behold, this big, huge, massive storm, not just one single tornado, multiple tornadoes, is about to hit down on the small town of Silverton and bring her character and also Richard Armitage's character together so they can track down his son, who was trapped in the abandoned factory after a tornado just smacks into it. Here's a clip.
What's happening up top, kid?
I got nothing up here, just clouds.
Wait, there it is, right there on the left. Are you seeing this?
Yeah, I got it.
We got movement to the northeast.
Hey, guys, it's splitting. We're gonna have another funnel.
Hey, something's happening behind us. There's another one.
There's one to our right.
2. There's 3. 4. They're everywhere. We have multiple vortices touching down.
Pete, these systems are too erratic. We gotta get out of here.
Oh my God, no.
And on top of these two groups of people, you also have these slack-jawed yokels whose ultimate game is to be YouTube sensations. Now, the thing with Into the Storm is, you're never going to get Oscar-worthy performances out of a disaster film. I think you have to go back to things like Towering Inferno, or films that were released in like the 60s and 70s to get that kind of thing, the Poseidon Adventure, to be able to maybe get to the quality of acting prowess to be notified in the Oscars. So when it comes to disaster movies, their whole game is to entertain. This didn't do its job. It's not an entertaining film. Even though there is big spectacle on screen of huge, massive tornadoes ripping into buildings and people trying to survive and lots of screaming and shouting and all that stuff, it's boring. It just really is boring. There isn't anything entertaining about the film at all. It drags along for 90 minutes, and I was just hoping for it to end.
Yeah, I'm going to stick up for it a little bit and defend it a little bit, because I did enjoy it. It is a dumb disaster film, and there is certainly something to them sometimes, and I think this has it. The only thing I will say is that seeing it in the cinema, and it's great, big screen, big sound. It is one of these big creature features or things that you need to see on a big screen, and if you see it then on a small screen, it isn't going to have the same impact. There's no chance of it having the same impact. It doesn't have the bass, it doesn't have the rumble and I mean, there are moments in it that are cheesy. The dialogue is terrible, as you would expect. So if you are into sort of, that's coming, you don't mind that, it's part of the whole thing of it, then there's nothing bad here. It's just nothing particularly spectacular or brilliant or really worth seeing. That's, you're not going to miss anything if you miss it.
I just felt the film. The only thing I admire of the film is the scale of the movie. It's on a $50 million budget, and to tackle something as big as a disaster film of any kind, you need sort of like the budget that Roland Emmerich gets for films like 2012, movies like that, Independence Day, etc. Because you need to be able to shoot it on a grand scale, and this tries to do that. And so I'll give it a pat on the back for its attempt to be able to bring that, but it just doesn't work. It's not fun. It's not entertaining, and that's what these films should be like. It might sound really bad saying that a movie about a tornado sort of like killing people's livelihood and practically nearly killing people should be entertaining, but it just never actually reaches the height of being anything enjoyable.
Okay, so the other DVD release this week that's been released today is Sin City: A Dame to Kill For. It is the follow-up by Frank Miller and Robert Rodriguez, based on Frank Miller's comics for Sin City and the characters that live there in it. You have the whole thing of the characters from the first film returning. Marv, played by Mickey Rourke. You have Nancy, played by Jessica Alba. You have then introduction of some other new characters, like Ava, played by Ava Green. And you have a character played by Joseph Gordon-Levitt, plays Johnny, who is a sort of a card hustler. You also have some actors playing roles that were played by different actors in the first film. Certain things like Dennis Haysbert plays a role that was played by the late I forget his name now, from The Green Mile.
Michael Clarke Duncan.
Yes, thank you. Who's obviously passed away. So I mean, there's different things like that happening, and there's some roles that return that kind of don't entirely make sense. The thing is, there's not much of a story to it, unfortunately. It is these separate little characters that have their own sort of stories, as the first film had as well, which is not saying there's not a story to it, because it has little stories but not a main story that links through it all. The problem that it has, though, is that I saw this at the cinema back to back with the original Sin City. I did not like the first Sin City film. Seeing it at the cinema, I enjoyed it. I liked the first one. Second one, not so much, because of the fact that it basically feels like Robert Rodriguez and Frank Miller made altogether a 4-hour film, and then they went, right, we need to cut this down in time, let's cut off 2 hours and not use it. Then they released that as Sin City, and then the 2 hours that was cut up together and left on the cutting room floor, they went, oh, hang on a minute, let's stitch this back together and release it as Sin City: A Dame to Kill For. So that's what this feels like. It doesn't really feel like there's much of a film. It just feels like the offcuts of the first film. And the thing is that there are moments in it that are... There's the character played by Josh Brolin, supposedly is the same character that's played by... the character of Dwight, played by Clive Owen in the first film. So there's things like that which I find very distracting when you have an actor recast. Unfortunately, with Dennis Haysbert, that's that has to be the case. But it's things like that I think don't help it, and this film actually needs a lot of help.
Yeah, it's stupidly disjointed. It's badly disjointed because it's sort of like a portmanteau film done slightly differently. With a portmanteau film, you always have like 3 or 4 different segments that's tied together by an interweaving storyline. And it's sort of that, but it's all melded into one. Everything flows into each other without having to cut away to something different. But it just feels so disjointed, like it was multiple elements of different jigsaw puzzles, but they weren't able to actually bring it together. Whereas the first one, it has the coherence with it, because everything seems to flow really well. The storylines seem to be able to stitch together really well. This one, it just doesn't work because they can't find a way of actually bringing it together with making it sense. There is no sense to the movie.
Yeah, it's really just, as I said, I just found it feeling very much like it was the bits that were left out of the first film just to make up a film, and it doesn't work.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. Now, onto the films that are out on the 26th of December. First off is a brilliant way to actually kick this off with Let's Be Cops. It's directed by Luke Greenfield, and it centres around two friends who is played by Jack Johnson and Damon Wayans Jr. Now, they are two layabouts. Damon Wayans Jr. character, he plays a video game designer, and Jack Johnson, he used to be a quarterback for a rugby team, a school rugby team, but he just lays about, doing absolutely nothing at all. And Wayans, he's not very good at his job. He comes up with an idea of a video game about a cop, but it doesn't go down very well at all. And so his pal decides to say, why don't we just dress up on these cop outfits that we stupidly wore for our sort of like a graduation kind of do. We're together when we meet our friends from school, and we'll go in and pitch the game again. It doesn't go down very well at all for the second time, and so on their way back home, they keep getting admiration from the public. They keep getting stopped because they think that they're real police officers, and so they click on that this might be an interesting idea. Why don't we just be cops? He's a moronic clip from Wayans' character when he's actually with a girl who he really likes.
I'm not a makeup artist. I'm a waitress. When do I face reality and just...
Can't give up on a dream. And look at all this work you've done. That's the last thing you want to do. Or else you're going to regret it for the rest of your life.
Yeah, I guess so. It's pretty insightful for a badass cop.
Okay, Josie, wait. I gotta tell you something. Like this is not me. It's not. It's... Josie. Oh, please. Okay, Josie, I need to tell you something. I'm not a cop, okay? I am a cop. Holy f***, I'm a cop. I'm a motherfucking cop. Wow!
So, is there any chance that this film could be funny? Is there any chance that they're getting two people who star in romantic comedies that are shown in the UK anyway on E4, New Girl, and I don't know what the other one is, to be honest. I think they're both in New Girl. Maybe it might.
Sure. I used to watch that and then I stopped, so...
It's one of those, or one of the stupid moronic programs that E4 decides to show in the UK and some comedy channel shows in the US. So there could be a chance that with them working together in the past that they gel really well. They could be like Channing Tatum and Jonah Hill in 22 Jump Street. Yeah, if you think that, you're deluding yourself, because this film is sort of like the complete opposite of 22 Jump Street, even though it's got very much the same kind of feel as that. It is about two people who accidentally become cops. This is just, it goes in completely the wrong direction because it lacks anything that is funny. It has no humour in it at all. As a matter of fact, it's more annoying. It has more alike with Horrible Bosses 2 than it has with things like... It has more in common with The Heat. It's the male version of The Heat. And you know what we felt about The Heat. Sandra Bullock and Melissa McCarthy together as a duo. No. These two as together as a duo. No. It's just not funny at all. It tries to cover each one of the bases. It tries to do the checklist about, we need to change our tact a little bit and add some kind of story, the reason why they're doing this. In the end, it all comes round and nice for them. Just shut up. It's bad. It's just really, really bad.
And predictably bad as well.
Beyond predictably bad. Even a 1-year-old who's reading a book for the first time would have looked at this film and just went...
So the other comedy that's released at the same time then, let's see if it's any better or worse than that, is Sex Tape, directed by Jake Kasdan. Stars Cameron Diaz and Jason Segel as a couple who, having raised a couple of kids, everything seems to be sort of fine. Their marriage is all sort of fine, except for their love life is not necessarily sort of kicking off. So they decide what they're going to do is they sort of have an evening together in the house. Things don't quite sort of work. They don't know exactly why, so they decided we're going to try these different things, amongst which they try filming a sex tape. It's recorded, put on the computer system, and then, without realising it, of course, as a lot of things get done nowadays, gets uploaded to the cloud. Here's a clip.
Why is the clip not playing?
We'll try this again. The clip is not playing. We'll try it again. Hopefully, here is the clip for sex tape.
How do you forget to erase your sex tape?
Because it kept slipping my mind, and then the next thing I knew, it went up. It went up to the cloud.
And you can't get it down from the cloud?
Nobody understands the cloud. It's a mystery. Look, all that's happened here is there's been a very minor sinking mishap.
This is not minor.
You know what, Annie? I'm on there too.
Nobody cares about you. Nobody wants to watch you having sex. You said it yourself. Nobody cares about the guy. It's the woman that has to live with it forever.
So, here's the thing with sex tape. It's not really funny. It does have a couple of moments that make you giggle, but it doesn't have any of the laughs that it thinks it does. It just basically has people doing stupid things and moronic things in order to get to, obviously try and get back all the sex tapes, because of the fact that they've all been uploaded to loads of iPads, which he's given out. So, I mean, it's annoying, first of all, that you have characters that are giving out iPads. Second of all, then it's stupid they do that. And then third of all, the stupid things are the people they encounter along the way, such as his friends who are interested and then end up sort of, what did you do? You make a sex tape? And then they end up, we want to see it, sort of thing. And Cameron Diaz's boss, played by Rob Lowe, who is a guy who is just weird, and it's just so awfully terrible. It's this kind of thing that's happened with comedy, where it's not being funny anymore. It's doing crass things, trying to be humorous, and it's not. It's just being childishly and pathetic, and you just kind of want to say, grow up, stop it. You just want to slap it around a bit and just say, make an actual funny film, not just something that's filled with bodily fluid humour and weak jokes about drugs. That's just don't do something actually funny for once.
The worst thing is, though, they're not even iPad 1s. They're actually they're not even the first gen iPads, to be honest. And so where the hell has he managed to get the money to give out multiple iPads? It's just there is even a cameo in the film which is rotten. It's really badly just put in there just because the director and the writers think that, this is going to be funny if we put this in here. Yeah, you're just actually pointing out to the fact that what's happened in the previous 65, 70 minutes is just been stupid. So it doesn't work at all. It's really bad. I know, horrible way to actually kick things off and do really bad films. And to be honest, it doesn't get any better, because the next film up is As Above, So Below, which is it's a found footage horror film directed by John Eric Dowdle, and it centres around the character of Scully, who's played by Perdita Weeks, and she is a scholar in things like the Philosopher's Stone. And the Philosopher's Stone, I'm not going to go into details on that. I did that when I reviewed it in the cinema section, and I went too complex and started to ramble. So it's just her trying to hunt down all the information that her father actually tried to get together, because he was an archaeologist as well, and her father's gone missing. And it's just her trying to seek the truth out of what her father was actually seeking. It leads her to France, where her and a few of her colleagues decide to go off for more information. And they discover that it's the catacombs under Paris where the big secret hides. And so, along with the help of a guide, they decide to go down to the catacombs, where they get trapped, and there's lots of grisly, gribbly things out to kill them. Here's a clip.
How the hell did they get a piano down there?
Maybe it fell when one of the houses collapsed.
You gotta be kidding.
When I was a kid, we had a piano that looked exactly like this.
Really?
Danny and I used to play it all the time. We only knew one song. Where Bonnie Lies Over the Ocean. You remember that song? We could never finish it because the A4 key was messed up. This is a trip. What's going on?
And it's not just these gribbly things that is leading to their ultimate downfall, it's paranoia as well, because paranoia sets in. You can just imagine when you're in enclosed spaces what that can cause. Now, when I first saw the trailer for As Above, So Below, I was really interested in the movie. I thought it might actually go to the claustrophobic feel of a Neil Marshall film like The Descent, when I was speaking about that when I reviewed The Pyramid last week, and it never actually reaches that height. It's not as bad as The Pyramid, because The Pyramid just has a stupid moment in it where it completely ruins the film. This one, it never falls down to that, because there are times when the film itself is interesting with the Philosopher's Stone part. That's where I was more interested in the movie rather than the horror element of the film. But it just lacks in the ultimate thing that it's needed, and that scares. So like with the two films that were reviewed previously, Sex Tape and Let's Be Cops, they're comedies. And their ultimate goal is to make you laugh. They should have jokes in it to make you giggle and smile and smirk. And a horror film should not only just be down there for gore, there are that kind of films out there, but this kind of movie is out there for tension and it's out there for scares. It never actually fully realizes either one of those. It's never scary enough, but it's never tense enough, because it just never. You don't feel like they are trapped in small enclosed-in spaces. Like in The Descent, I will always hark back on about The Descent, because The Descent is the ultimate claustrophobic nightmare movie. If you say that you're not claustrophobic, you will become claustrophobic after watching The Descent. With movies like this, you just think to yourself, go, it's a film. It's fine, it's a film. But it's not good, but it's slightly just below average. It won't make the worst lists of the year, but it's just completely forgettable.
Okay, so on to drama now with $1 Million Arm, which is a Disney film directed by Craig Gillespie. It's based on a true story of something that happened, I think it was about 2010 or just before then, where America obviously has the Major League Baseball teams. They're always sort of sending people out for scouts to look for people that can play, and in particular looking for pitchers. What happens is that one of them comes up with an idea. The JB, played by John Hamm, decides he's going to go out and set up this contest abroad in another country, in an area that hasn't been sort of looked at before, which is India. Go out there and set up a contest for people to go out there, people to come and show their pitching styles who play cricket because of the fact that they have a similar sort of obviously throwing that's required from the arm, and set up this thing that potentially the winners will then be able to go across to America and potentially be set up to win a sort of a $1 million contract with a Major League Baseball team. What he does when he's out there is arranges to meet up with several people to have their, including a man who sort of comes to him and says, I'll work for free to learn how to be good about coaching, about baseball and such. I love it. I want to get involved in it. Another one played by Alan Arkin, who is an old sort of retired expert in the area of pitching, who likes to go out and instead of watching, likes to listen to the pitches being made. Here's a clip.
Check this out. All right, hold on. I'll call you back. What? How long's it been like that?
About a minute.
Is he gonna throw?
I have no idea.
Is that right? 82 with that motion? Is that even possible?
I'm lefty with juice. You don't see that every day.
Lefty with juice is good, sir?
Lefty with juice is great. Commit. Lefty with juice is money in the bank.
So here's the thing with $1 Million Arm. It is a lot better than you would expect for this. It's a rated PG film because of the fact that it's not offensive to anyone. There's nothing in it that is especially outrageous. Even obviously not trying to spark anything up here, but normally there are things in a film when you go to another country and there will be a joke somewhere or something like that, maybe offensive. It doesn't do anything like that. It just is nice, pleasant, enjoyable, has its moments that are funny, has moments that are quite sort of emotionally engaging, and has moments that between his character and the Indian characters that they decide to then bring over to the States, and as he's kind of learning about himself while he's learning about them and such. And it's got this just it's genuinely a sweet, charming, enjoyable Disney family film. And if you haven't seen it, I do recommend you have a look at it, because it's fun. It really is one of these ones that suits, it's for everyone. So I do recommend it. I would say if you're unsure about it, check it out. Have a look at the trailer and see, and even then you go, you know what, I'll see this, because it's enjoyable. I really liked it.
I haven't seen it, unfortunately. I was supposed to see it, but I had absolutely no time. So that was the reason why we switched around As Above, So Below, and
I recommend it. You check it out over Christmas, because I think you'll enjoy it. It's a pleasant, easy way to pass 2 hours.
Unfortunately, I have no time. I'm the next, I would say, 13 days. I'm working 12 of them. So yeah, I have no time at all, to be honest. Final film of unfortunately of the show in 2014, new wise, is God's Pocket. It's got Philip Seymour Hoffman in it, so it's an interesting way to actually end the film reviews of the year, considering that Philip Seymour Hoffman passed away this year. And it's directed by John Slattery, and it's got a very simple storyline. It centres around just Philip Seymour Hoffman plays the character of Mickey Scarpato in a small little town called, mainly referred to as God's Pocket, in a small little neighbourhood where families have very little money. They find it a struggle to actually live. And the stepson of his character is just a bit insane. He's a bit high and mighty up on himself. And he ends up being involved in an accident where ultimately his life gets taken away from him. And so the film itself is just about Hoffman's character trying to seek out the truth about what's happened, while his wife believes that what the people on this construction site are saying is wrong. She believes that there's something else going on. Here's a clip.
Something happened to Leon over at that job. Something nobody's told us yet. Anybody tell you anything you didn't tell me?
All they told me was that something dropped and hit him on the skull. That's the whole thing.
Something else happened. It did.
Okay. I'll see what I can find out. Okay?
And so, interleaved with that, you've got characters who are played by John Turturro, who helps out Hoffman's character every now and again. You've also got a journalist in the movie who's trying to... he writes a story firsthand, but he's an alcoholic, and so his journalism is not to the highest of standards, and he needs to go back to God's Pocket to try and actually get the truth out and release actually a story that is the truth about what's going on. And it's a small, contained drama. It doesn't zip along at very much of a pace at all. As a matter of fact, the pace is very stagnant. It's only a 90-minute movie, but at times it feels like it's overstretching its welcome. By the end of the film, I felt like I was watching a 2.5 hour movie and not a 90-minute film, because the pacing of the film is so slow. That's not to say that there's nothing to admire in the film, because Philip Seymour Hoffman, in any movie that he's in, he can bring gravitas to a very underwritten character, and he does that in this film. And so the acting-wise, not just from Philip Seymour Hoffman, but also from Christina Hendricks, who pops up every now and again, and you're seeing it in the clip there, and John Turturro, it's nice to actually see him in a role like this, rather than in the film Fading Gigolo, which I hated. So it's got some decent acting in the film itself, but it's just a very stagnant, slow-paced movie where very little happens in it. And I'm normally a fan of these movies. I just felt the characters weren't exciting enough to latch myself on to follow this stagnant story.
I kind of agree with that. I do think that it's a film where it seems as if the cast have been picked for their performances, but they're not given the performance material that they need in order to be able to do the performance that they're good at, that they can do. So it does feel as if it's unfortunately underwritten, and I don't mean it's horribly under-directed in that there's not a lot done other than it's trying to rely on the performances, but the performances aren't being given what they need to be there.
It felt more like a TV movie rather than a movie.
Yeah, it's again a shame to have something like that for one of the last movies of a great actor like Philip Seymour Hoffman.
Yeah, it is a big shame. Well, that's it for the DVDs, Blu-rays and cinema releases of 2014. There are multiple films out over the next few weeks, which we'll probably give our take on them when we return in January. Full details will go up on the website when we do actually return, because we are ending slightly early this year compared to last year. But we will still be seeing films over the Christmas period, and so we will give you our thoughts when we eventually go over the box office top 10, the first one of 2015. It's going to be really weird seeing that. And also with the Blu-ray and DVD top 10s of 2015. So
look forward. Where can people find out this information, Stuart?
Well, I'll give that information out just after we find out what TV movies of the week we've picked. And that was very cheesy.
Should I do mine first, or do you want to do yours then?
Yeah, why not?
Okay. Well, I've actually picked 3. I've kind of cheated, but it's because there's a good sort of selection of films on. Admittedly, they are all on Film 4 again, as usual. The Eagle is on Film 4 Thursday the 18th at 9 p.m.
I was going to choose that.
Oh, yeah, it was. It's the fact that I've picked actually a couple with Channing Tatum in it. That one, and also Magic Mike is on Sunday the 21st at 9 p.m. because of the fact that they're having this Channing Tatum season. And the thing is that The Eagle is a good film because it's a small British film that has him in it, brought in, and it's about the Eagle of the Ninth, which is it's sort of based on the true things that happened with a Roman legion that disappeared.
It's a quite violent 12 film as well.
It is. I think it's actually 15.
It's a 12.
I have the Blu-ray. I'm pretty sure it's 15, unless it's just an uncut version or something.
Yeah, I'm sure it was a 12 when it came out.
Okay, and the thing is, Magic Mike as well. Now, Magic Mike, guys will not be interested in this because it's about strippers. But if you're interested in seeing a film that's well written, well directed, and well acted, especially by Channing Tatum, kind of one of these movies that set up him as actually an actor, then see it because it's actually pretty well acted and it's pretty well done. So it's worth seeing that. And just a quick mention as well, because I'm a big Marvel fan, Iron Man is on 9 o'clock on Saturday the 20th on Film 4. Though I'm not sure if they'll have subtitles or not because they keep forgetting to display the subtitles for bits of it that aren't spoken in English.
Yeah, it's the best Iron Man film as well. I think, yeah, because I thought I didn't like number 3 and I hated number 2. So it is the best Iron Man film, and The Eagle was rated 12. Surprisingly, it is a violent film for a 12.
I'm pretty sure the Blu-ray I've got is 15, so it's maybe that the Blu-ray got an uncut release or something.
Yeah, like they did with the Hunger Games.
Yeah.
My choices are one's on Film 4, surprisingly, and the rest aren't.
Okay.
So yeah, my first film is The Beer, which is on Film 4 on Friday, the 19th at 9 o'clock. It is a found footage film about a small town that's get infected by this parasitic thing inside the water. But it's very well directed. It's got tension to it, but it also interleaves sort of like a mockumentary feel to it. So there are mockumentary elements of the movie itself just interleaved in the film about obviously like talking heads and them seeing that this is a news report that happened, and it's from Barry. It's on Friday the 19th at 9 o'clock.
Typical. I haven't seen it and I want to see it, but I'm not available to watch it on Friday.
Yeah, it's from Barry Levinson, who directed things like Sphere and Wag the Dog and Sleepers, which I love that film. Toys, Rain Man.
I do love Wag the Dog. It's a fantastic film.
Yeah, Good Morning Vietnam, Young Sherlock Holmes even. So he's done some really good films. Yeah? Toys.
You say that I'm sort of not impressed. I love Toys. I love the film Toys. I think
yeah, he's done some really good films in his past, and this was the first proper horror film that he did, and he actually tackles it really well. But if you want something that's completely on the flip side, on the same time, on 5-star, on Friday the 19th at 9 o'clock, Dumb and Dumber. Because Dumb and Dumber 2 is out on Friday, and Dumb and Dumber, from what I can see from the trailer of Dumb and Dumber 2, looks highly superior. It's not obviously going to be as bad as Dumber and Dumber, which was, the less said about that film, the better. But Dumb and Dumber is such a funny film. This was Jim Carrey at his height of comedy. This was when he was doing all this slapstick comedy, and it worked brilliant, like with The Mask and Ace Ventura. But Dumb and Dumber is just, I still watch it now and still giggle. Because it's very childish, but very childishly funny. And my final choice is a classic, actually, on E4 on Wednesday the 17th at 8 o'clock. It's Edward Scissorhands. I still think it's Johnny Depp's best film.
I might agree with you. I'm trying to think of other... Well, I do like Captain Jack Sparrow from the first Pirates of the Caribbean, so I don't know. But yeah, I do really... I have a place in my heart for Edward Scissorhands.
The score is just sumptuous. I love the score on Edward Scissorhands. It's just... the music just puts goosebumps on your arms, and it adds that element that it's needed in the film, where it adds emotion to its highest level. So the score, I definitely recommend the score, but the film itself is a classic. I love it. Winona Ryder also is fantastic in the movie. But that's it for TV Movies of the Week. Before I go on to plug the site, what is your movie of the week, your final movie of the week of 2014?
Well, obviously in the cinema release, we only covered The Hobbit, the Battle of the Five Armies, which is fine. If you like the Hobbit films, then you'll like it. You know, you may not love it, but you'll like it. At least it will pass the time quite successfully. On DVD and Blu-ray in this and next week's releases, I'm gonna have to go with $1 Million Arm.
And I'm going to have to go with The Guest, because that's out on the 29th. It's got Dan, I don't care. It's got Dan Stevens in it, and Dan Stevens is just brilliant in that film. I did a horror podcast with Stuart at From Page 2 Screen. Give him a shout out now. And I actually made Dan Stevens my horror actor of the year. And so it's because he is really malevolent in that film. It's directed by Adam Wingard. And it's a very tense film, but it goes completely insane in the last 20 minutes, and it suits the film well because Wingard knows how to direct horror. And so I was just plump for The Guest, even though we didn't review
like
it.
The Guest as well, but and my other half particularly likes The Guest, but not
for different reasons.
For a shower scene in the film.
Yeah. Yeah. Right, that's it for this week's final show of the year. Have I mentioned that it's the final show of the year?
Is it the final show of the year?
It is, unfortunately, the final show of the year.
Wow,
make sure you head over to the website mondaymovieshow.co.uk. There's quite a few new trailers just being put up on the site there. Also, a post to indicate what we are doing on Wednesday, which is our proper final show of the year, where we pick our top 10
You mean
best...
this isn't the final show of the year?
It's the penultimate final show of the year. It's the two-parter. It's part one.
Penultimate itself. You don't say penultimate final show. You said penultimate show of the year.
No, it's part one of a two-parter.
We're getting we're getting like the Hobbit now.
Yes, it's us copying out. We're doing a Hunger Games and Hobbit.
It's Mockingjay. Yeah, this is Mockingjay Part 1.
Yeah, we need to actually change our name to have a H in it, because Hunger Games and the Hobbit were two-parters, so three-parters for the Hobbit. But yeah,
there's no day beginning with H.
No. It's
the Hyundai show. No, it sounds like it's sponsored by someone.
Yeah, like we're a car or something. But yeah, we will be back on Wednesday at 8 o'clock with our award show, where we showcase the best and worst of the year. Mainly, we're looking towards the best this year rather than just the worst. We have our worst top 10, but that's where the worst, just the line drawn there. So you can find out. Post on the website mondaymovieshow.co.uk, along with the box office top 10 will still continue up until the end of the year, and where I'll also post what the top 10 films taking wise of the year will be, so that'll go up on the website. And we might add a few little posts here and there where we put our top 10s up on the site itself. You can also get us on Facebook, facebook.com/MondayMovieShow. Leave us comment, feedback, stuff like that on there. Also on Twitter @MondayMovieShow. Andrew's at EHDVD. I'm at Cryptic Tadpole. You can email us, mondaymovieshow@yahoo.com. You can find us on Podkicker and iTunes, but for some reason it's acting up a little bit. Yeah. It's acting up a little bit, but I did... you can actually download an app on Android which will download podcasts from iTunes onto the app itself. So you can get iTunes podcasts on Android devices as well. And it did actually update properly on there. So it does work. And you can find previous shows on there as well. So
Can
it's
I
sort of like...
Can I just point out as well, we did say we'd get it within the year, done within the year. We get back on there, and I think we have actually managed that. We are still in 2014. We are back on iTunes.
Yeah, it's an early Christmas present, if you could call us a very... It's a bit of a crappy early Christmas present. It's like opening an advent calendar and finding a bit of carrot in there rather than some chocolate. So it's a bit of a meh one.
Unless you're a donkey.
Yeah, maybe. But why would a donkey have an advent calendar? That's the start of a joke. I just don't want to end that. Also, make sure you check out a few of our affiliates. From Page 2 Screen, which I've already mentioned, .com. You've also got Following the Nerd, which didn't have a show on Thursday. They have a show this Thursday. It's their last of the year. I sense a theme. Maybe.
Oh, last of the year. Sorry. Is that my cue?
And also the charity that we've been supporting over the 3.5 years that we've been doing the show nearly. God, that's a long time. Which is the Sound Foundation.
Now, don't we?
Yes, soundfoundation.org.uk. So until Monday, we will leave you a clip with...
until Wednesday.
I think you said Wednesday, Monday. It's so confused. Until Wednesday, around about 8 o'clock where we go live with our last show of the year. This is getting stale. We'll play you out with a clip of Dumb and Dumber 2, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, it's not actually called Dumb and Dumber 2, isn't it? It's just called Dumb and Dumber 2. So until Wednesday, goodbye.
Bye.
You guys want to play He Who Smelt It?
Huh? What's that?
It's complicated, so pay attention. We put the windows up. First one who smells a fart gets a point. If you say who dealt it, double points.
But if you say you smelled a fart and nobody farted, like if we were just passing a slaughterhouse...
False fart.
You lose a point. And you can't smell your own farts either. What, are you guys kidding? No. No. I'm not going to sit around sniffing your guys' farts like some kind of truffle pig. Forget it. Okay, fine. Lloyd and I will play one-on-one.
Yeah, head-to-head.
Yeah. How can you play one-on-one? If you smell a fart and you didn't do it, isn't it obvious the other guy did?
I thought you said you never played before.
Unless you're a donkey or a rabbit.